So last time we finished working on the HTML page, and just to show you where we finished, I'm just going to right click here and open with live server, which is something we've been doing all throughout this course. We're using the live server VS Code extension to open up our websites on Chrome or any other browser you have. Here, as you can see, this is our current website design. Obviously, we have the design ready here. So let me just get this closer. And you can see this is what we want it to look like. But currently, this is what it looks like. Now, this is completely fine. We are just talking about the basic structure, that is the HTML, but now we can get into more of the CSS and try to make it more like this. Great, so CSS, right? Many people have many people CSS, they find it difficult, but I think I could break this down for you in a manner that is very simple. Let's just proceed here. Let's start. I have a system for CSS. You feel free, by the way, to do things how you like and to discover your own system. But I have came up with a system that I really like, and it's made working on CSS very easy for me. So I'm just going to be sharing that with you. We're going to start by creating a folder. Styles. Okay, now why do we create this folder? Because we're going to be having so much CSS that we're going to need so many CSS files, right? We're going to be breaking it down into modular components. Modularity basically means breaking down your code into separate files. Now, why didn't we do that with the index.html here? Very simply, because one HTML file represents one HTML page. So we can't really break down a page like in JavaScript frameworks like React and Vue. That's very much possible, but in just pure HTML, you cannot break down a page into components of HTML files. So one HTML file should incorporate one HTML page. So quite simply, that's the reason. Now, where do we put our CSS file? So we're going to need only one primary CSS file that connects with the index.html file. Only one should connect with the index.html file. So which one is that? I'm going to go here and create a style.css. This is the convention. Index.html for the primary HTML page, and style.css will work as the primary style page here. Style file here. Let's start, right? So how do we go about doing this? I'm going to go back to the index.html, and just below the title, I'm going to go add a link. And I'm just going to click insert here. If you don't use VS Code, you can just write this code by yourself. It's link and rel or relationship, I think, will be a style sheet. So we're connecting HTML with the style sheet. And the href or the location of that style sheet is very simple. You can just go to styles, the slash, right? So we just start from the home directory of the project and go into slash style.css. Great. So now this should connect. Just to test it out, we can go into the style.css file and we can say body, background, and we can say red. So now let's just save it and check out our website here. And you can see the background changed to red. Obviously, this is not really what you want. So I'm just going to remove this. Okay, great. So where do we start? For today, I just want to do two things. And if we have time, we can do more. But the primary thing I want to start with is first, we would need to set up the background color. And then we will need to just basically set up the fonts. So we have two fonts which are not accessible on your device probably. So we're going to be learning how to install a font onto your project and how to set the background color. Very simple, right? So let's start from the background color. So where should we do that? Now, your intuition might be to just say body, then background, and background color and like black, for example. but that's not correct. In this system, I'm going to show you everything should be modular. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be creating a new folder in the styles called appearance, right? Hopefully appearance. I'm not sure if I spelled that correctly. Let's search for, I want this to be correct. So if I just start searching it here, appearance. Okay, so this is the proper spelling here. And let's just get here and rename this, I think, appearance. Okay, you're correct. So here inside of the appearance, I'm going to create another style.css file. Now, it doesn't matter if you have two of the same files if the other file is in different directory. So we can just continue here. And from here, we're just going to be creating one more file, body.css. Great, so we have now 3 files. So let's break this down, okay? First thing, this appearance folder will be where we style all of our components, individual components, right? So we're going to make this logo look right. We're going to make this astrology sign, text look perfect, everything individually, we're going to make it look perfect. So this is the use of the appearance. Now we have a style.css because in the appearance file, we're going to be having so much CSS files. So we want to all compile that all into one CSS file using the import statement. So import, and I'm just going to say from here, we just want to import the body.css, right? So if we follow this link, you can see we can go to the body.css. So I'm just going to save it since we don't really have any other files. And from here, we can just take the primary CSS file and import the appearance CSS file. Now, when we do that, everything in the appearance folder will transmit to the style folder. Now, that's much better organized than we doing body.css that we can this is better than including the body.css file directly into the main style.css because we want the main style.css file to be a compiling hub for all the other additional folders. So I'm just going to go here. I'm going to say appearance slash. Now we don't do body.css. Again, we do style.css. And since the body.css is included in the style.css, now we don't have to worry about this much. Now let's just remove these for now. And now if we go to the body.css and say body background color, and if we say, for example, black, and if we go back to the websites, now it works. Perfect. Okay. Host, something like this, right? Now let's think about this, right? What is the background color that we actually have? We go here, it is listed under gray 100, and it is 1111111. I think 6 ones here, which is the hex code for this. Great, so how do we go about doing this? Quite simply, we can do this 1111111. So we can do this, but it's not proper because let's say we actually change this color to another one, then we would have to go to every single CSS file and just do the same thing there. So instead we're just going to need to create a variable here. So I'm just going to create a new folder here in the styles folder, variables. Again, for these variables, we'll need an entry file, style.css. And for this, we're going to create a colors.css. So this file will house all of our colors. Let's start. We're just going to be starting by saying root. I think it's just one. Okay, yeah, it's roots. Now this root selector in CSS is a special one, which you might not be familiar with. You just need this to set variables to all files in the CSS, right? So just know that when you want to set files globally, you want to use the root selector here. Okay, see the selector actually. So let's start. We want to create our gray 100 color. So I'm going to say 2 slashes, hyphens, gray 100, right? Then you can say 111, 111. Great. So at this point, we have set our gray 100 variable to be this color, which is exactly what we want. Now we have to import this into the style.css. So obviously we can go here and say add imports using the import. You should be now familiar with the import statements here. The imports syntax here is import, then just say colors. That's CSS. Great. Great. Now, instead of this, we should just include, first of all, these two files, the body and the colors, are not yet connected because we are including the colors here, but we are not including it here. So the way we do it is we want to say import, and this time we want to say variables dot slash style dot css. Now you can see in the main page, main css file, we are importing every css file from every folder we have here. So the proper css file structure is being followed. So now if we save this, now when we do instead of this, if we do var gray 100, now hopefully this should work perfectly. Now you can see this is not completely black, it's just a gray 100, which is exactly what we want. Perfect. Everything is working quite nicely here. Now you can see like we have 4 or 5 CSS files to do a simple thing, which is changing the background color. But that's not the case. When your project grows and you write more and more CSS, this structure will be very, very helpful because one, your code is modular, meaning if something breaks in your CSS, you don't have to like scroll through hundreds of lines of code. You can just find it through the structure here and just edit there. Two, it will be easier to add new stuff because obviously you have a very structured CSS, and overall this just makes life much, much easier as your project grows. So we have the background color set, which is one of the most important things that we want to do today. But next up, we want to include new fonts, right? So I'm using 2 new fonts here that you don't have on your system probably, unless you have included it beforehand. The first one is Instrument Sans, and the second one is Bebas New. Now, where do we install these fonts, first of all? Uh, the best place I think to install fonts is on Google Fonts. So the URL being fonts.google.com, right? So if we go here, you can see once it's loaded, you get to Google Fonts, and you can actually search for instruments sans here, and you can just go here and click get fonts, and you can see I've already selected them both beforehand, so it saves my preferences. So we have these 2 fonts right here. So first thing we have to do is just download them. You can also get the embedded code, but I think I'm going to cover the download option here. Now, we're not going to be installing these fonts. Let me just click download first of all. We're not going to be installing these fonts on okay on our system, but rather we're just going to be installing it onto our projects, right? So projects astrology side. Then I'm going to go to assets here. Uh, then for now, I'm just going to save it here, but we're going to be extracting it and changing its position. Now you can see this refreshed because we are installing something new to the directory. And now that this is done, we can just exit out of this Google Fonts website. And now if you go here, you can see Bebas New. So if you want to install this globally for your computer, you can do so. But we're not going to be doing that. We're just going to be installing it for our project, because if you take this project and deploy it, the deployment server won't really understand where the Bebas and instrument sans fonts are coming from, because it does not have a connection with your PC. But if you install it for your project, then your project settings will go with your project, obviously, so that will be much easier. Now, if we right click here, you can see there is a reveal in a file explorer. So I'm just going to click that, and this should open up here. Now, you can see, hopefully you can see, I'm not sure how to make it bigger for you to see, but hopefully you can see that we have this folder now. We can right click, and it's just loading here. We can go to WinRAR, extract to Bebas new / instrument serif here, and in just a moment it should extract. So now we can just delete this file. I'm going to hold shift permanently delete it, since we don't really need it. And you can find this from Google Fonts, or you can find it on the project repository through the link in the description down below, obviously. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a new folder, and I'm just going to call this folder fonts. We're in the assets folder, and a font is a sort of asset, right? So we have two fonts. So the first one is the Bebas new regular, and we just want this TTF font. So I'm just gonna change this name, and I'm gonna say Bebas new, and I'm just gonna cut this part here. And inside of the fonts, I'm just gonna go right click and create a new folder here. Actually, we can just paste it here, I think. Let's just paste it here. Bebas new. Okay, great. So now we can go out and get back here, and under instrument serif, we can see there are two types of files here. And which one do you want to select? So the one is italic, and the other one is just the variable font here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the regular font, because I don't really need the italic version currently. So I'm just going to say instrument sans. I'm just going to cut this part here. I'm going to go to fonts, and I'm going to paste it here. Now let's just get back one moment. Select this. I'm just going to delete it from here. And now let's go back to fonts. And I think just to structure them, I'm just going to create a new folder for both Bebas. And you might be asking, why do we need separate folders, since there are only one files? But these files could be multiple. You don't know. You could have multiple weights and font styles, and that might change them. But just know, I think it's a better way of structuring this if you have a separate folder for both of them. Great. So now we can just close this off. And you can see now we have a font folder. Inside of them, we have two font files. So how do we actually start using this font? Because if we just go and start saying Bebas instrument stereo, CSS won't really recognize them. So we have to install them. So here I'm going to go into styles, and I'm going to create a new folder called config. So this will be our CSS configuration. So style.css. Again, so for the config, I'm gonna create a fonts.css file to configure this, and I'm gonna start here by just saying at font face. And if I click here, you can see VS Code kindly generates two properties. The font family is just the name, right? So if I want to first install instrument sans, I'm just going to start by saying instrument. Actually, we don't need the quotations. Instrument sans, right? So this will be the name. Then the URL is just the location of the file. So where's the location of the file, right? We start from the config file. So we have to get to the fonts. So config, we first have to get one out, right? So dot slash. Then again, we have to go one out dot slash. Then we have to go to the assets slash. Then to go to the fonts slash instruments, right? Instrument sans slash. Finally, we have the instrument sans dot ttf. Great. This is the first one. If we just copy this, quite simply, we can paste it here, and we can just substitute this with bbus new. So what we do is just replace this part here with bbus new slash bbus new.ttf. Great. So at this point, we have both of these spawns installed. Now we just have to test them out. First of all, let's go to this config file and make this installation global by just saying import fonts.css. And then we have to go to the global CSS file and just do import config slash style.css. And the order of these files, I don't think it's important, but I would like to just always have them in a way that makes sense. I want the configuration to be first, the variables to be second, because everything depends on the configuration, and most of the appearances depend on the variables. So the appearances are most of the time at the lowest point. So let's just save this, and we can now close this off. Hopefully we have done everything correct, including importing this here and importing this here. Now, if we go to say, let's just go here and try to add this. Let's say body. If we say font family and instrument sans, let's try this. So hopefully you can see the font changes. It's kind of hard to see because we have a black background. Let's actually change that. Let's go to appearance and let's go to body and let's say actually text color, just say color. And instead of saying white, we need a variable for that as well. So let's just go to the variables, add this variable here. Let's just say whites and say FFF. So this is the color code for whites. Let's just save it. You see how easy it is to add new variables. So we can now say body colors, and we can say var white. Actually, we need to make some changes. This shouldn't be great. This should be CLR gray, meaning color gray, and this should be CLR white. Now let's just save it, and if we do that, we have to go to the variables and add CLR whites and CLR gray. Now if we save it and go back, this should now be fixed, and you can see it takes a moment to load our fonts, but now we have a clean font right here. Now the same applies to bbus, right? So we can say bbus new, and if we go back, you can see bbus is being applied. Now, one thing to note here is we're not going to be applying the fonts just like this, obviously. We want to apply the instrument sans font to be the primary body text. As you can see here, the regular text are instrument sans. So how do we do that? What's the proper structured way of doing that, right? So the way I'm going to do it here is very simple. I'm just going to do this pretty fast because you already know the techniques. I'm going to start by going to the variables and add fonts.css. And under roots here, I can say fonts body, and I'm just going to say instruments sans and font. Actually, I'm just going to say font family, font family header. I'm going to say bibas new. So new. Great. So now we have the fonts. Also, we have to include this here at import fonts.css. Great. Now we can just go to the appearance, and here we can change this. Let's add the semicolon here, and we can go down. I'm just going to create as a line separator here because we are moving from color to text. So here I'm just going to say font family, which will be the default font family. I'm just going to say instrument sans, right? So I'm just going to save it finally, and now it's instrument sans. Sorry, we should use the variable here var font family instruments sans. Great. So at this point, this should hopefully work. Uh, it's now working. Let's debug this. Okay, so first of all, did we insert the name correctly here? Let's try to go back here. Okay, we already have inserted the fonts.css. Okay, not it wasn't instrument sans, it was ff body. So that's where the mistake happened. You see how easy it is to debug, where just you go one step backwards to see where the problem happened. So ff body here, and if we go back here, it's taking a bit too long to load. For some reason my PC is lagging, but you can see everything is loading correctly. So perfect. Today we worked on the color, background color, and just we have installed our fonts, which is so much progress. Great so far. I think this is quite enough of learning CSS for today. Next time we're going to be going through each individual element here, and adding some resets and making them look the way they should be looking. Okay, that's all for today. All that remains now is just to commit our code as we always do, and we start by saying git add and all. So we're adding all of the elements. So you can see now everything is committed, added to our git system. Now we can say git commit with a message, added CSS, uh, CSS configurations, right? So if this is configurations, so we just added basic configurations. We haven't really done much, right? So I'm just gonna add this to the commits, and you can see everything is now committed. Finally, we can say git and push. And after just some moments here, we can see that we have committed and pushed our code to the main branch. Okay, great. So thanks for watching this video. Next time I'm going to be continuing on designing this using CSS and making it the way it should look like, just like this. Again, as always, you can find the source code and the design file in the description down below, and you can play around with it, try to create your own methods of doing stuff, and experiment overall. That's the most important thing to learn. Okay, finally, thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.